And thank you very much for having me here today as a keynote address speaker to the 13th annual Harmony Brunch, celebrating the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. It's a very important event. It's a very important anniversary that we are celebrating. As I was telling the media outside just recently, the fact that we are here together to celebrate the progress that we've made since the days of apartheid in South Africa is a major achievement, I think. But we also cannot rest on our laurels and expect that things are going to constantly be progressing forward. We have to remember that there are instances of regression in our society. People are going backwards rather than going forwards in some cases. And the incident today in Calgary is another reminder of the fact that racism is not completely eliminated from our society, and therefore we have to be vigilant to make sure that it has no place in our society. If I point you to the words of our Prime Minister in the brochure here today, he says that discrimination has no place in a civilized society, and the Canadian government is committed to standing against racism and ensuring that future generations understand the causes and consequences of racial discrimination. So I'm happy to see so many people here, a diverse crowd. We are all flowers in the garden, in God's garden, I guess. And it's wonderful to have flowers of different colors. If we were all the same, it would be quite a boring garden. So I'm happy to be here with you today. And I want to talk to you about something that, although on the surface may not appear to be a topic on racial discrimination and the elimination of racial discrimination, it does have relevance. I'm going to talk to you today about the evolution of a new norm in international society called the responsibility to protect norm. And when you look around you, you see people slaughtering other people in many parts of the world. In Calgary, just on Friday, I was the external examiner on a dissertation, a PhD dissertation, the topic of which reveals something that many of us in this room hardly know very much about. And that is a slaughter that's taking place in Nigeria, in Toto region of Nigeria, the middle belt of Nigeria, where thousands of people are being killed, but not very much attention is being drawn to it in the media. And I asked myself, why do sane human beings slaughter other human beings? There's so many examples of this in our history. The madness of genocide, the madness of crimes against humanity, war crimes, the systematic and bureaucratic extermination of Jews, for example, during the Second World War. The 3.5 million people that were slaughtered in Cambodia under Pol Pot's regime. The 800,000 people that were killed in Rwanda with machetes and clubs. The brutal slaughter of thousands of people in Darfur. I think the numbers now are close to 400,000 or more, as the Janjaweed, in collaboration with the Sudanese government, are slaughtering innocent people in Sudan. You'll notice that every single time these things happen, the international community has said never again. You remember after the genocide and the Holocaust in the 1940s, the international community said never again. Yet, the many acts of horrific slaughter of innocent people were recorded during the remainder of the 20th century in places like Burundi and in Cambodia and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where people are being killed every day and the news media doesn't pay very much attention to this. In East Timor, in Haiti, in Kosovo, in Liberia and Rwanda, in Sierra Leone, in Sri Lanka, in Somalia, in the Sudan, in the former Yugoslavia. And in the 21st century, we thought that maybe we had learned lessons of Rwanda, that we had learned lessons of the previous conscious, shocking atrocities, but they continue in places like Chechnya, in Iraq, in Kenya, in Myanmar, in Zimbabwe. How can we turn a blind eye to this malignancy? How can we stand idly by in the face of mounting deaths and suffering of people at risk across the globe? This is the normative question that I spend a fair amount of my time researching. It determines much of what I do as an academic and as a public intellectual. I'm concerned because I want to see an end to this slaughter. But it's not as though we, the international community, people within our community, have not tried to do something about it. At least rhetorically we've tried. We've tried rhetorically to stop this practice of indiscriminate killing. And today what I want to do is to walk you through some of the ways in which we've tried, and perhaps talk about some of the ways in which we are trying to build a new architecture that will somehow help us to bring an end to this slaughter. And that's the responsibility to protect normative architecture. I argue that the R2P, or the responsibility to protect norm, has the promise, has the ability to transform promise into practice and words into deeds. These are the words of our current Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon. At the base of this norm is a challenge to states and to the state leaders to protect their citizens and the people living within their borders from physical harm. It also is explicit about the need to protect citizens who are in the country regardless of whether or not people who are in the country regardless of whether or not they're citizens. It is explicit about the fact that states can no longer use sovereignty as a fig leaf to cover up the most egregious crimes committed against innocent people.